In a surprising move that has raised eyebrows within both military and business circles, the Pentagon was set to brief Elon Musk on U.S. military strategies regarding a potential conflict with China. Scheduled for March 21, 2025, this briefing could mark a significant expansion of Musk's involvement with the U.S. government, prompting concerns about potential conflicts of interest given his extensive business ties to the Chinese market and his role as a key defense contractor. Reports indicated that the session was intended to focus on the military's operational plans, commonly referred to as OPLANs, pertaining to a hypothetical war with China. These plans are among the most sensitive and closely guarded secrets within the military, designed to outline the U.S. response to various potential threats and scenarios involving China. According to officials familiar with the plans, the briefing would have included detailed slides outlining strategies to counteract Chinese military actions, including potential targets and timelines for engagement. However, the situation quickly took a turn when President Trump and Pentagon officials publicly denied that the meeting would cover military strategies related to China. Trump took to social media to assert that China will not even be mentioned or discussed. This denial raises questions about the actual purpose of Musk's visit and whether it will proceed as originally intended. Musk, the billionaire CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, has long maintained an influential role in U.S. defense contracting, having secured billions in contracts for his companies. His dual role as a business leader and an informal advisor to Trump complicates the narrative, especially as Musk has expressed intentions to streamline government spending and restructure military budgets. Critics argue that allowing Musk access to sensitive military information may pose ethical dilemmas, particularly as he continues to operate businesses that are major government contractors, including the Pentagon. The briefing was reportedly to be led by high-ranking officials, including Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Christopher W. Grady. Musk's security clearance further complicates matters as it grants him access to classified information that could be beneficial for his business interests, particularly in the realm of satellite communications and military technology. SpaceX has developed significant capabilities in launching military satellites and providing secure communication via its Starlink network, which are seen as vital assets in any future military conflict. The implications of Musk's involvement in such sensitive discussions are manifold. On one hand, his presence could foster innovation and efficiency within military operations, as Musk has been an outspoken advocate for re-evaluating costly military programs. On the other hand, the potential for conflicts of interest is significant, especially given Musk's financial entanglements in China, where he has extensive business interests, including a major Tesla factory in Shanghai. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the Pentagon's focus on China as a primary threat has been a long-standing concern, influencing military budgeting and strategy for decades. The ongoing revisions to U.S. war plans against China, particularly in light of advancements in space warfare capabilities, reflect a growing recognition of the need for agility and preparedness in an increasingly complex global environment. In light of these developments, the Pentagon's decision to engage Musk in discussions about military strategies raises critical questions about transparency and accountability in government contracting. As Musk himself noted in his social media post, he anticipates addressing maliciously false information being leaked about the briefing. Whether these discussions will lead to a clearer understanding of U.S. military strategies or further complicate Musk's role in the defense sector remains to be seen. The outcome of this unusual collaboration, if it proceeds, could have lasting implications for the defense industry and U.S.-China relations, as both parties navigate an increasingly fraught landscape of competition and cooperation. As the stakes rise, the intersection of technology, defense, and global politics will likely continue to attract scrutiny and debate in the months ahead. In recent months, the global economic landscape has been heavily influenced by the escalating tensions between the United States and China, a rivalry that has now reached new heights under the Trump administration. The U.S. has increasingly targeted China, viewing its economic success as a direct threat to American hegemony. This shift has significant implications not just for bilateral relations but for the geopolitics of global trade and international alliances. As President Trump re-enters the political arena, his administration's rhetoric and policies have underscored a militaristic stance against China dubbed the China threat. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has labeled the Communist Party of China as the most powerful and dangerous adversary the United States has ever had to deal with. This sentiment is echoed by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who emphasizes that the U.S. must create a deterrent effect to maintain its global dominance. The backdrop of this confrontation is stark. While the U.S. economy grew by a modest 2.8% last year, China's economy surged ahead with a 5% growth rate, demonstrating resilience and a robust industrial sector. The stark contrast is further highlighted by shifting trade dynamics. Currently, 145 out of 200 countries engage in more trade with China than with the United States, a significant shift from just a quarter century ago when the U.S. was the dominant partner for a majority of nations. In response to China's economic ascendance, the Trump administration implemented a series of tariffs, starting with a 10% levy on all Chinese imports, escalating to 20% shortly thereafter. These measures intended to curb the trade deficit, which saw the U.S. purchasing $525 billion from China against $164 billion in exports, have not yielded the desired outcomes. Instead, they have primarily impacted American producers and consumers while exacerbating the trade deficit. China's economy, which has reduced its dependence on foreign trade from 60% of GDP to 37%, has shown resilience against such external pressures. China's retaliatory measures included imposing tariffs of 10 to 15% on U.S. coal, natural gas, and agricultural products, alongside increased scrutiny of American corporations operating within its borders. The U.S. faced a critical wake-up call as it became evident that economic sanctions alone would not suffice in reining in China. Instead, they risked pushing the U.S. into a more aggressive imperialist posture. Trump's administration is not only focusing on trade but is also building alliances in the Asia-Pacific region as part of a broader strategy. Collaborations with countries like India and Japan highlight a concerted effort to counterbalance China's growing influence. Following a recent meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Trump announced a new defense agreement and a goal to increase bilateral trade to $500 billion. Such partnerships are framed as essential steps in maintaining regional stability and countering perceived threats from China. Moreover, the U.S. approach has shifted to a more militarized stance, with Trump advocating for increased arms supplies to Taiwan and calling for a robust military presence in the region. This pivot raises the stakes significantly, as any potential miscalculation could escalate into broader conflict. As the U.S. continues to engage in strategic military exercises with allies such as the Philippines and Japan, the Chinese government has expressed growing concerns, labeling these actions as destabilizing. The narrative of an aggressive U.S. imperialism is gaining traction, with critics suggesting that the current administration is more focused on maintaining dominance than fostering productive diplomatic relations. Looking ahead, the outlook for U.S.-China relations remains precarious. The potential for a summit between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping hangs in the balance, shrouded in uncertainty. Observers note that before such a meeting can occur, both sides must clarify their positions and objectives. China is keen to understand what concessions Trump is willing to make, particularly regarding tariffs and technology exports. In conclusion, the ongoing economic rivalry between the U.S. and China represents a pivotal moment in global politics. As both nations navigate this turbulent landscape, the repercussions will undoubtedly extend beyond their borders, affecting international trade dynamics and geopolitical alliances. Future developments, particularly in the realm of diplomacy and trade negotiations, will be critical in determining whether this rivalry escalates into a more profound conflict or if a pathway to cooperation can be forged. In a move that raises eyebrows across the political and defense landscapes, the Pentagon has set up a briefing for billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk regarding potential military strategies concerning China. Scheduled for March 21, 2025, this meeting is poised to expand Musk's already significant influence within government affairs, particularly as he continues to helm SpaceX and Tesla, both of which are substantial contractors for the U.S. military. Sources familiar with the situation indicated that the briefing would center on the U.S. military's operational plans in the event of conflict with China, known in military jargon as O-plans. These plans are typically among the most sensitive documents within the Pentagon, outlining various scenarios and response strategies to potential threats from Beijing. The presence of Musk, a noted figure in both the technology and automotive sectors, raises questions about the appropriateness of his access to such classified information. Musk at a war planning briefing? Giving the CEO of one defense company unique access seems like this could be grounds for a contract protest and is a real conflict of interest, remarked Todd Harrison, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. In the wake of the news about Musk's expected appearance at the Pentagon, the administration of President Trump swiftly denied that the meeting would involve discussions of military plans. Trump himself took to social media to assert China will not even be mentioned or discussed. Despite these denials, the Pentagon confirmed Musk's planned visit, further complicating the narrative surrounding the briefing's purpose and context. The implications of this meeting extend beyond mere access to classified information. Critics have pointed out that Musk's dual role as a significant government contractor and a government advisor presents ethical dilemmas, particularly given his extensive financial interests in China. Musk's SpaceX has become a critical player in the Pentagon's efforts to modernize its military capabilities, with contracts totaling billions of dollars. Furthermore, Musk's business dealings in China, including reliance on the country for Tesla's manufacturing operations, add another layer of complexity to his involvement in U.S. defense discussions. This potential conflict of interest is underscored by Musk's previous calls for the Pentagon to reduce spending on high-cost military assets such as the F-35 fighter jets manufactured by Lockheed Martin, a competitor in the aerospace sector. His perspective on military spending and innovation could influence the forthcoming budgetary decisions at the Pentagon, especially if he gains insights into the military's strategic priorities. The backdrop of rising tensions between the U.S. and China adds urgency to the Pentagon's considerations of war planning. The U.S. military has been preparing for scenarios involving China for decades, focusing on a range of capabilities from air and naval power to advanced space warfare strategies. The recent proliferation of Chinese military technology, particularly with respect to satellite warfare, emphasizes the need for robust U.S. defense strategies. As highly sensitive information about military capabilities is at stake, the Pentagon's approach to briefing Musk raises significant concerns among ethics experts and military analysts alike. While some officials have characterized the meeting as an informal discussion about innovation, the reality of the situation suggests a more complex intertwining of corporate interests and national security. Moving forward, the implications of Musk's access to such critical information could have far-reaching effects on U.S. military strategy and defense contracting practices. As debates around military spending and technological innovation continue to evolve, the question remains: how will Musk's unique position influence the future of American defense capabilities in an increasingly competitive global landscape? The resolution of these tensions and the outcomes of this high-stakes meeting will likely reverberate through both the business and political arenas in the months to come.